皆さん、こんにちは。IU-Connectのアーサーです。大変今更ですけど、今日は趣味について教えたいと思います。7年前から YouTube やってるんだけど、I know. Okay, here's the thing. この趣味っていうトピックスはとても初歩的で、他のレッスンとか学校でよく学ぶトピックスで、だいたい皆さんは基本的な知識があると思うんですね。でもレッスンではなく外国人との実際の会話になると多くの日本人は同じような変な言い方を使ったり同じような問題があったりして今回のレッスンを作りたいと思いました。今日は特に他のレッスンであんまり教えてくれないことをシェアしたいと思いますのでぜひお楽しみにしてください。今回のレッスンでこのトピックスを学びます。1、ネイティブが実際に使う趣味は何ですかの自然な聞き方。2、逆に趣味を聞かれた時に自然な答え方。3、会話を楽しく続けるためのおすすめの質問をご紹介します。よろしくお願いします。Alright, so let's get into the first step, which is asking someone about their hobby. But before that, I want to ask you, what is your hobby? あなたの趣味は何ですか？ぜひコメント欄で日本語でシェアしてください。後で自然な英語の書き方を学びますので、you can do that later. Alright, let's get into the first step. So, how do you ask someone what their hobby is in English? Well, a lot of Japanese people will say something like, what is your hobby?
Asa, what is your hobby?
Well, I don't really have one. But is this really the right way to say it? Austin, what is your hobby? To be honest, this isn't a great way to ask that question because it's pretty katakurushi, it's pretty stiff. It almost feels like an interview. It kind of has the same feeling as, what is your job? And I covered that in another video here. You know, especially in American culture, putting a kibishi teigi to something is kind of uncomfortable for a lot of people. They don't like to put labels on something. They like to just feel natural. They like to just go with the flow. ちなみに go with the flow というフレーズをご存知ですか？この動画の最後のところでご紹介します。So instead, what do native speakers ask? They say, what do you do for fun? This what do you do for fun is similar to the way you ask someone about their job. What do you do? But in this case, if we just stop at what do you do, it means their work. We have to show that it's not about their work, it's about their hobbies. It's about what they do for fun. You know, you do your work every day and you do your hobbies very often. And so it's kind of a similar thing. You regularly do it, but you have to say 楽しむために. You have to say for fun. So Austin, what do you do for fun?
Well, I really like watching movies.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Asa, what do you do for fun?
Well, so, I just like to, I like to make coffee and I like to try different kinds of like sake and stuff. I like to go travel. I like to do a lot of things. I like to spend time with friends. Those kind of things. By the way, この動画をご覧になっている世界とつながるムーブメントの会員の皆さんは、今回の例文の発音練習と実践課題はムーブメントエリアでゲットできます。Another phrase you can use is, what do you do in your free time? It's the same construction, what do you do? But in this case, it says in your free time. So it's not what do you do for fun. 楽しむためにやるんじゃなくて、空いてる時間、暇な時間があるときに何をやるかっていうことになります。And so in this case, the person isn't necessarily going to share something that they really like. They'll just share something that they use to pass time. And so sometimes the answer will be different.
What do you do what do you do for what do you do in your free time?
Okay.
Asa, what do you do in your free time?
I sleep. So basically, if you ask, what do you do for fun? Or what do you do in your free time? Well, that's good enough for asking. Now, what about the other way? What if someone asks you, what do you do for fun? How should you respond? Let's look at that in the next section. A lot of Japanese people will say something like, my hobby is this. My hobbies are that. My hobby is reading books. My hobbies are reading books and watching movies. But that still feels a little stiff. Remember, that's putting a very kibishi teigi on something. And well, that's not actually very comfortable for many native speakers. Instead, you can basically say, I like, and then the activity. Now, wait. ここでちょっと待ってください。ちょっとご注意ください。There's actually a couple ways to share that activity. You can say something like, I like to read books, or I like reading books. Now, what's the difference between I like to read books and I like reading books? Well, to be honest, not much. But the key to saying this naturally is to distinguish between those two. Now, remember, the word like is a verb. After that, we feel like we want an object. We want something like a noun. We want something with a little bit of weight to it. But a verb is something that is just moving. It doesn't really feel very heavy for a native speaker. So if you say something like, I like read books, that feels kind of strange because native speakers are waiting for that heaviness, but instead they get a light verb. So it's either to read or reading, either to verb or verb and ing. It has to be either one. そのどっちかになります. Now, personally, which one do I recommend? I would recommend you use the ing. I like reading. That just feels a little bit easier to me. But remember, the important thing is to not confuse the two. It's to not say, I like read books or something like that. It's either I like reading books or I like to read books. Okay, now that we've learned the natural way to respond to this question, I want to ask you, what do you do for fun? Please leave your comment in the comment box below, and this time, please write in English. さっきは日本語で書いてくださったんですけど、今回は英語で書いてみましょう。Let's practice what we've learned in this lesson. I'll give you 5 seconds. Okay, now here's the thing. Most Japanese people, when they talk about hobbies, they end at this topic. They just go, hey, what do you do for fun? Well, I like reading books. Huh? ここで会話がとどまってしまいます。But talking about hobbies is a great way to get to know and to connect with someone. And so if you ask a few more questions, well, you can have a very interesting conversation. And so I want to share with you some more questions you can ask, some follow-up questions you can ask to make the conversation more interesting. So a lot of times when I'm talking with someone for the first time and I want to get to know them and I talk about hobbies, well, I want to continue the conversation. I want to get to know them. And often I ask these questions. The first one is, how long have you been doing that? それどのぐらいやってるのっていう質問ですね。This is great because you can see if someone has been doing that hobby for a long time or a short time. If they've been doing it for a long time, well, that's very interesting. You can ask more about it.
Asa, what are you into recently?
So recently, I've been into making espresso on my coffee machine.
Good. How long have you been doing that?
Yeah, I've been doing that for about, 6 months now, I think.
What got you into that?
Yeah, so one night I was eating vanilla ice cream with my wife, and I thought, I want to make affogato.
Oh,
And I didn't have espresso, so I bought a machine to make espresso.
nice.
Yeah. And then after that, lots of times I ask, well, what got you into that? 朝何かに入り込むって?やっぱり直訳になると結構おかしいですね。Yeah, but I don't actually mean you get physically into a hobby. To be into something, to get into something means ハマる、興味を持つこと。And so when you say, what got you into that, you're basically asking, 何がきっかけで興味を持ちましたか? So if I'm talking with someone and I ask them, what do you do for fun? And they say, I like to draw. Well, then I would ask, how long have you been doing that? Or how long have you been drawing? And then the next question I would ask is, what got you into that? Or what got you into drawing? ちなみに僕の場合は、やっぱりドラゴンボールの漫画がきっかけだったんですね。I started drawing Dragon Ball characters and that got me interested in Japan, and now I'm here. Alright, now let's look at the phrase go with the flow. But before that, I want to share something. YouTube で英語を楽しく勉強して満足している人がとても多いです。あなたもそうでしたらぜひ引き続き学習を頑張ってください。でも多くの方は英語をたくさん学ぶのに外国人と対面すると頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこないという問題になります。外国人と話したい、世界とつながりたい、自分の視野を広げたいと思っているのに、英語をどう学んでも実際に話せるようにはなりません。具体的にどうしたら実際に話せるようになるんでしょうか？ If you want to learn English not just to study but to connect with the world, I want to help you with that. I love Japan and I want to help Japanese people connect with people from all over the world, and it's my mission in life to help you actually connect with people. レッスンに限ってではなく、外国人といつでもどこでも気軽に話せる英語力を身につけるためには、いくつかのステップが必要です。そのステップの詳細は無料ガイドでシェアしています。詳しくは You can click up here or you can watch to the end of this video or you can click the link below this video. Okay, now go with the flow. What does that mean? イメージは川の流れに合わせて、川に入ってその流れに合わせて進むというイメージです。It means 苦労して頑張るんじゃなくて自然な流れに合わせて進むというイメージです。Just go with the flow. When people say, "What is your hobby?" they feel pressure they need to decide and it's almost going against the natural flow. でも多くの人は無理して定義をせず自然な流れでいつの間にかそうなる方が気楽だし、そっちの方が気持ちいいから、many people just go with the flow. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this and I'll see you next time. As always, enjoy your English adventures. 一緒に世界とつながりましょう! See you next time! 英語を学ぶだけではなく実際に使えるようになりたいと思いませんか？その場合はぜひ無料ガイドをゲットしましょう。This guide is based on my experience learning Japanese and me working with hundreds of Japanese people to help them learn English and use it in the real world. So please check it out.